Welcome to LFG with JJ, the podcast that helps you level up your CX game by navigating CX and AI technologies. I'm Juan J. Singh, the CEO of Zingtree, the AI-powered customer experience platform providing solutions that turn every human into an expert. 700 plus companies across 54 countries trust our solutions to boost their contact center proficiency, enable their customers to self-help, improve their internal processes, and more with Zingtree. Hey, Justin, great to see you.
Likewise.
Excited to have you on the LFG with JJ podcast. Thanks for giving us your time. We'll get right into it. Justin, you are the VP of Customer Experience and Operations at Snowjo. Congratulations on your recent promotion. Excited to hear that from you. I would love to, get this started. In today's podcast, we'll talk a little bit about your background. We'll talk about the CX space. We'll talk about, how you stay relevant in your job and, the things that you do day to day. And we'll wrap up with some final questions. Let's get started. Let's hear about, who Justin is. Would love to hear about your background. I know you're a big sports fan. I know you played football. I'd love to learn more about, how football athletics, played a role in your professional career. I don't know if it did, but I'd like to learn more about that and just hear about your background.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, by the way. So I'm happy to do this. And where to start, right? My background, I did start kind of in a call center experience, but mine was a little different. I was more on the IT help desk side. So I started off a combo role, really. I was actually doing IT help desk, like level 1 tickets, and also sales. I was really good at sales. I had a good speaking ability. And I was like, all right, so let's do this. I fell in love with the problem solving process. I just fell in love with it. I love the feeling of customers loving I love the kind of reciprocation of, hey, I need your help. I need you because you're helping me let me do my job. And so that kind of tied really well early in my career. And I kept doing that, right? I'm still fairly early in my career, but I did that for only about a year or two. I grew and kind of stepping stone. I got more into tech. Got into EMR software support, and then dived right into medical devices, which was with a company called Topcon, which was specifically supporting a product that was completely proprietary. So I knew nothing about it, and so we had to learn it from kind of the ground up, and that was challenging, to say the least. And at that point, I basically learned that it was a technical support engineer, but in that point, I learned I could technically take this to the next level. I can be a leader here, and I saw the need for it. And so the promotion came. There was an opportunity available, and I jumped on immediately. I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And I
had to apply for it, or did you talk to your boss then, or how did you?
I just talked to my boss at the time, I knew there was an opening coming up. I knew there was a need for it. We haven't had a change at that time. We didn't have a change in our call center in a long time, and we had the same management. There was really no changes, no automation done. I had a feeling it was coming, and it was actually proposed to me, and it was like, hey, how do you feel about stepping into this role? And at that time, it was taking over 2 call centers. It was a help desk, which was our technical support levels 1 through 3, and then also our success and support team, which is more of your general kind of customer service call center. And so I think in total at that time,
help desk was more internal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So at that time, it was my first real leadership role. I mean, managing 2 contact centers. It was probably like 22 to 25 employees, and it was only like my 3rd year in my career, really. And so I grew really quickly. I loved it. I fell in love with that process. I worked my butt off. That part we tend to forget, but I worked my butt off to do that. It wasn't just handed to me, but yeah, it was that was kind of the leeway to get in there. I did skip over, like, obviously my sports stuff, but I'll get into that. This is just career right now. And so, so I did that.
That's pretty cool because, I remember when we always had, IT help desk personnel in any company I've been a part of. If they have a great attitude and they help you, they can really get to know everyone in the company because everyone goes to them. Hey, help me fix my computer. I'm actually going through a situation now where I have a security that pops up on my computer every 10, 15 minutes. So, I reached out to my internal help desk folks to help me there. So, someone like you who's got the right attitude, right energy, and you're getting your career started, you can pretty much get to know everyone in the company, and you get to be someone they all depend on, and that can sounds like that's played well for you.
Yeah, no, I say that to people all the time because I meet people like in my everyday life at the gym or at other places, coffee shops, and I tell them what I do, and they're like IT. Like most people have this stereotype around IT people that either they're introverted or antisocial or just maybe not that easy to talk to. And so easy, like early on, the early going, like you mentioned, that was one of my I realized that very quickly. I'm like, no one in this IT space, even if they were maybe more tech savvy at that time than me, they couldn't speak the way I could, and they just couldn't. They weren't people, so they couldn't speak to people the way I could. And so, I just saw that as like a really easy opportunity. I'm like, hey, I'm naturally friendly with people.
With
People
that,
like
and then you
me.
worked your butt off, and that gave you
Yeah,
the opportunities. That's
and
amazing.
so, and it's really it's sad to say, but it is very uncommon in the space. It really is. You don't meet that many IT people who are really good with tech and problem solving, but also people that you feel like you can talk to, you can go to. So that played really well
That's
for me.
correct. Like people in IT and tech, can get issues resolved and played football. We don't see that. That's not common.
Yeah. That part is, yeah. So actually, before we move too far on, I do want to, I'll touch on the football thing because it is important. And you mentioned the effects it plays on professional development and just professional in general. And I'll say, I have a kid now. I have a 5-year-old daughter, and I want it when she's old enough. I want to encourage her to play all the sports she can because I'm a huge proponent of this. I think the discipline that you learn in sports and getting screamed at by coaches, having to show up to practice when you don't want to, having to go to film rooms and it's like almost like having a job that you're not paid for, and you're only doing it for the pure fun and enjoyment of the sport and also the camaraderie you have, right? And so I learned that very early on. And so when I got to a job, and I was working with people that maybe didn't play sports I played up until college. So I played Division II football. So I had 16 years or so of playing, a lot of sports and mostly football. And so when you get to an office environment and you deal with customers who are maybe yelling at you and maybe screaming profanity or whatever my first few calls were like, I can't remember exactly. I know they weren't nice. And you get those first few calls. To me, I've been doing this 16 years. I've heard everything you could hear
You got a
about
thick skin.
running on the field, and yeah. So
That's amazing. We're aligned there. I'm a big fan of sports. It teaches you a lot of things, like you said, discipline, focus, ability to wake up the next day after taking a beating. Those are things that are life lessons, and it actually brings people together, right? From all walks of life. You can have different statuses in life and come from different parts of the world, and but it brings everyone together as a team. I played tennis, and now I play tennis and pickleball. I'm really into it. I've been in some tournaments here and there, but football I'm super fascinated with because I call football as a sport is a trusting sport, because when you've got your team. Tennis is an individual sport, and you can play doubles, but football is really a team sport where you have to trust your teammate. You have to, if you're the quarterback, you're not going to look over your, on the left side to make sure you're, to see if your lineman is, your offensive lineman is going to cover for you. Right. You just know that, he's going to try to do his best, and you're not going to look there. You're going to look at the passing route and make the throw, even if you're going to get hit. So really, you got to trust your team. Which I think is, again, an amazing life lesson, when you have teammates in the rest of your life, whether it's in your professional career and other careers, trusting the teammates, I think is a big advantage. So, that's something that I enjoy about football.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And
what position did you play?
I played, so in high school, I played everything in high school. I tried to play everything, but defensive end, mostly defensive end, linebacker, and tight end. And in college, I thought I was going to play offense. I ended up playing strong safety, and so that was new for me.
You're pretty fast. What was your
my 40 wasn't that fast. That's probably what limited me mostly. I wasn't the fastest guy. I was really athletic. I was smart, and I was also the hardest. I was really one of the hardest working people. I didn't meet people that worked harder than me. So that was my go-to was hitting ability and just my work ethic. But my 40 was, I think, a 4.7 in college. It wasn't that fast. Yeah. 4.7 was probably my fastest that I've been. Now, if I run it, I mean, I don't know, probably probably a 5.
Well, you know what? Next time, we get together, we'll do a 40 race and record it. Put it up.
Yeah, I don't know if my hamstrings will make
I'm
it
sure
these days.
with both, at least I might have some hamstring issues, but it'll be fun.
Yeah. But yeah, so like I said, I think it's really important. I understand a lot of people don't like sports, and I get that too. But if they do have a passion, just try it. I always say just try it, especially for younger people. One of the things that often doesn't get talked about in sports that is directly impacting the work that I do today is the leadership skills that you learn.
Were you a captain on the team
as a captain? Yeah, exactly. And so for me, I've always played that role, whether it was a peewee level football or going up. Even I played 3 sports in high school, but in football, let's just say to use one example, I was captain and I was a leader, and people looked up to me. And as a good player, you kind of have a certain standard to live by, right? You have a reputation. People want advice from you. People want to be guided by you. And so I didn't even know it at the time, like a leader. Like you hear the word, but you don't know what it means. And so when you translate it to a work environment where you're like, wow, people treat me the same here, they automatically assume when you're in the room with them that you're going to give them something to do, or you're going to give them guidance. And and a lot of it is, like I said, reputation management. You do that at an early age. By the time you get professional, it's almost like you don't even have to think about it. It's just kind of second nature.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. So I know your career, started in IT help desk, and and you continued to stay in that space, and then started doing more stuff around the call center, contact center space. And where are you now? Tell us a little bit about.
Yeah, absolutely. So IT thing kind of, and once I got into leadership role, that's one of the things you lose a little bit of the hands-on, right? I don't get to do as much like solving of the everyday issues, but I was okay with that because I got to see big picture, right? And so what I'm doing now in my role as VP of Customer Experience and Operations is mostly trying to figure out the best way to put our customers in a journey that is not only like pleasurable, but is different than something else they've experienced, right? We're in an industry where it's very saturated, right? You can go to Home Depot and find multiple different lineups of different types of Makita. You can go to Makita, you got Black & Decker, you got Ryobi, you have all these different options, right? And so as a consumer, you're like, what's going to make it different? It's not always just the price. Is it going to work? And then what is the customer service? A lot of these products want good customer service. So
especially now, because if it's poor, guess what? I'm going somewhere else.
Yeah.
I don't deal with that.
Exactly.
The customers are kind of spoiled in this day and age.
They really are.
So you guys are super focused on that experience.
Yes, the experience is huge right now. We're currently one of the bigger projects, and I've been here a year. So I started here as the head of customer service and technology, and just as of effective today or in tomorrow, I'll be VP, which is kind of perfect timing. But in my new role, really is going to be focused on.
I think you made history at LFG at JJ Podcast. I believe you will be the youngest VP of customer experience and operations. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because like people tell me that a lot too. And even when I worked at a startup prior to this role, and I met a lot of people, really awesome people I worked with. And some of them would ask me and be like, well, how old are you? Like, you just were in shock because at that time I was senior manager, but even still, they were like, man, you should be COO. You should be, just because I'm always looking for the next, like, I want to grow. I want to do more. I want to solve bigger problems.
That's awesome.
So,
thank you. I mean, being in your late 20s and being a VP, you've earned it. I can see that. You worked your butt off and you had the right mindset, attitude. So congratulations to you.
Thank you. Yeah. So to finish the thought on what we do, what I'm doing here, and really it's experience. A lot of what I'm going to be doing over the next 12 months is going to be a lot of behind the scenes, which is for me the fun stuff, the stuff that you don't get to see published on websites and stuff, but it's systematic, functions and automations that we're working on our RMA process, our warranties, our actual handling of the warranties that are happening behind the scenes. And so a lot of it may sound boring to the normal person, but it's going to make a crazy, crazy difference in the experience over the next 12 months that our customers will automatically feel. And so,
and your customers, and tell us a little bit about Snow Joe, right? I mean, you guys have been in business
absolutely. So we actually, it's funny, so Snow Joe started off with the first product was a snow shovel. It was called the Shovolution, and it was an electric snow shovel that you can push forward. It has a little rotating spindle in the front, a little blade that rotates, and it pushes the snow in front of you. And so it started with that, and after that we started taking on multiple different lines of products in the snow category. Eventually the business grew. That was doing really well. And the business now has We have Sun Joe products, Aqua Joe, Power Joe, and all of these lineups of products under the Snow Joe brand all offer different, I guess, different kind of categories for our consumers. But I guess to wrap it all up, it is a very product focused, e-commerce focused business.
Yep.
Mostly you're going to hear our name when you talk about pressure washers, when you talk about snow blowers, leaf blowers, and pole saws. Those
Who's
are like
Joe? Is Joe the founder?
Joe is the founder. Yeah, Joe Cohen is the founder of the company. He's the
That's
CEO
cool.
as well.
Cool name, Snow Joe. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, if I owned the company, I want my name to be in it too, right? That sounds like such a cool thing to have, right?
I don't know if Snow Juan would sound good. Probably
Yeah.
not. But Joe has a good ring to it.
Yeah, we may have to put that in ChatGPT, spin up a few options for us or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what we do now. And of course, there's so much under that umbrella, but mostly we're e-commerce focused. You'll see us in some stores. You can go to Home Depot, you can go to Lowe's, Walmart. They carry a lot of our products, but most of us stuff is done online, Amazon and our website.
That's awesome. So, you've been, I know you've got a lot of energy. You've been in this space. You've been monitoring the space. You've been hands-on involved, and now you're a leader. What do you see, what are you seeing in the CX space now?
Yeah.
There's
I love that.
a lot going on.
Yeah.
There's, obviously you mentioned ChatGPT,
Yeah.
generative AI, I'm sure, all the vendors out there are pounding you with their emails and calls saying, hey, we've got the right AI solution to, make magic for you. So what are you seeing? What are you guys doing? And what are the kind of tools you're using to, provide great customer experience for your consumers? What are you seeing happening in the marketplace, and where do you see the industry going?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, head on. AI has been the topic of conversation now. I mean, heavily the topic of conversation now for probably the last 8 months. Like you said, nonstop.
Is it from your side, or is it your management? You see, was Joe, Snow Joe, fired up about AI?
Everyone is. We have channels here in our Slack internal channels that are dedicated to AI conversations, articles that we read together. But in a general scope, our customer, here's the part that really surprised me, Joan, was that for the first like 4 years of my career, customers hated robots, AI. Customers didn't want to deal with, they want to speak to a person. If you put them through an IVR system that was automated, you would still hear complaints, and they would say, oh, I want to talk to a person. And it's just, hey, press 1 or press 2.
Just pressing zero.
Yeah,
zero.
yeah. So people, exactly. And so the part that surprised me is that the level of, I guess, comfort that customers are already receiving, like they've been showing us through AI, and also customers, the knowledge is out there now. So people know about it. People are using ChatGPT for personal purposes and, whatever, everyone's using it now. And so there's a huge demographic pool of our customers who want to embrace that and even ask questions about it. And so one of the things that we use it for is, of course, our web chat. And so we do use Ada, which is a tool. Ada is an AI tool where we can kind of with no code create and customize our chat experience. And so that's on our website. Customers use that every day. What we're looking forward to is somehow using AI to enhance the customer's experience also on voice. So that's a future project. But again, I'll go back to the hesitation because of a lot of customers. There's a big demographic of them that want it, but there's also the ones that are like, no, get me on with a human. This is not right. And so we're really excited. So I want to talk about it from an operation perspective. We're really excited about, of course, it could be cost saving, right? Resource wise, I think in the next I'm predicting next 5 to 10 years, a lot of these call centers, a lot of these, customer service orgs may have to start changing their roles. I'm not saying they're going to eliminate roles, but changing their roles to bot builders, AI specialists, people who are familiar with the process and build flows that are customized for experiences, instead of having direct just people doing, handling tickets, right? And so that experience sounds so much better. We're actively, we have Zingtree, right? We're on here. Zingtree is, I just saw this the other day actually with the success team, and we talked about the new feature where it has like the publishing, edit your publishing at the end. And so for our authors on our team here who handle that, I don't work directly on it, honestly, but for the people that are writing these trees that we're using, it's like, don't have to go to another tab. It's helping you kind of create a personality to it. And we can customize it because we know our agents, right? We know what they want to hear, how they want to see it, how they want to read it, and the flow of it. And so instead of us having to manually go through all this, I thought it was really neat that you guys just like, hey, I know, like, it just seemed like you guys read our mind, and I thought that was a cool feature. And so We like that. We plan to use that more as we build more trees. We're still relatively new to that, of course, but yeah, we're excited about AI. We're always talking about it here. If it's not just with the experience side, but also everyone's talking about it, right? On a personal level, I think people are talking about it as a personal assistant. We talk about robots. I personally love it. I'm a tech nerd myself on my personal time, so I get really excited about this stuff, right? I don't get scared. There's a side of it that gets scared, right? I'm sure you probably heard some of
Especially with
that.
like data, where's the data stored?
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
security team was probably coming, hounding you.
So
Yeah, totally.
there is a side that is that concerning side, and there are some things, and there are certain industries that I would say probably should stay away for a while.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I think the generative AI is so AI as a whole is really awesome, right? I think it's cool what it does. I think it's needed. I think it needs to be regulated a little bit more because it's so highly used now. But I think the generative side of it, where it's literally answering questions for you from the human side, where agents would typically have to think, how do I answer that? I can't, and you can input. So that side of it, I think, is really, really vital. I think once we get to a point where you can input a data set that only has limitations, that only stays within a boundary of information, just like it had ChatGPT, for example, goes up to September 2021. So their data sets are limited to that point, and they can grab everything from within that point to whatever it started at. Let's say we put our own data sets, proprietary data, user manuals, documentation, SOPs that we could use to generate answers for customers on the fly. And I'm speaking directly at self-service here. Customers can ask us, how do I do this? Or how do they go to an app, or they go to the chat. And so I'm thinking about that. I would love that. We're not there yet.
Yep. Well, that's awesome you're thinking about it, because, and also thanks for the Zinc shout out.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of, new features that we're rolling out. We made a lot of investment in AI. So you'll see that. So I'm glad you like the publishing feature. There's a bunch of AI assist feature for the authors to make it easier for them to build faster workflows. And there's a lot more coming down the line. But definitely, to your point, being able to connect with a lot of data systems within your organization is something that we're working on. And we're actually in beta testing with a few customers. So happy to share more with you offline. But that's great. You're thinking about it the right way. You're fully plugged in. We both are aligned on that front as well. Like, AI is the future, and you guys are embracing it. So that's great to see that. You made this comment, 5 to 10 years from now, you think humans are not going to be replaced by AI, but their jobs, their roles are going to change. Let's noodle on that a little bit more. So you're saying, hey, their roles may not be like picking up the phone and just giving a resolution to a customer. It could be around figuring out how with your AI expertise build more automation and self-service to the customers. Is that where you're thinking the future is
exactly
going?
So I'm going to and I'm only going to speak to this prediction is specifically for an industry like mine, where it's a consumer product that they can touch, they're with. Maybe not as much on the software side, where I need to maybe connect to your computer or your system, but on our side, where a customer has an actual product in their hand, a physical product.
They've got the Snow Joe,
right? They have it. Let's say they have a Snow Joe. This is my vision, right? Over the next 5 years, if we can get there, absolutely, I'd love it. First of all, the phone needs to be automated with AI. Right now, you have your IVRs, and IVRs, when they first came out, everyone's like, "Oh, this is great! Now we have our own, person that's triaging the calls." And it's like, well, yeah. So I know you probably remember that was like a huge thing, right? And so now people are kind of annoyed. They'll tap 0.
I do that when I call. I'm like, they're like, hey, I'm in the space. You're in the space, and I'm like 0. And I'm like, human,
representative
rep, representative. I'm like screaming and
exactly. So we know the pain.
We're doing it.
We know the pain. We deal with it as consumers ourselves, and that's another part of it is really cool. It's like, anyways, I think the automation of that conversation, right? And I'm just going to use an example for our product here. Customer calls into one of our main support lines. They get an answer system that we generate answers for. So maybe not generative, unless we can get to a point where we control the data sets and the boundaries of what answers they can actually provide. Because when generative responses, the problem is that we don't want to give false information, especially live to a customer. Hey, ChatGPT is known for this, right? It tells you, it'll make something up. And so it might combine a product that is totally irrelevant to the product they're asking about and give a really bad solution, right? So that's the scary part. So what I'm thinking is controlled data sets that are limited to within boundaries that we can control the answers. And so it's not as generative, but it's going to generate based off of what they're hearing, right? And so it gives a complete self-service option. Completely, I can register my product here, right? That's the easy one. I think the next step to that, and obviously let's talk about the agents here. I think with that need, it'll eliminate. I'm just making prediction here, but I think it'll eliminate the amount of calls going to call centers like ours by probably 60 to 75% in the next 5 years, because
the calls that go to
the
your
calls will
call
be
center-
contained. I mean, they're going to be contained by the bot. And so just like a chat system that everyone's familiar with, containment rate with chats, it's going to be the same thing. I'm just predicting it's going to be the same exact thing. As long as here's the caveat, as long as customers and everyone's own customer demographic is different, as long as our customer demographic is okay with that and they like it and they embrace it, 100% will work. If they say, I hate robots, give me to a representative, we want the old school way, then we're going to go with that as well, because we want to make our customers happy. But that's going to be the final caveat. Is like, well, how is it? Do people actually like it? Do they like
demographic changes, right? I think,
right?
Your demographic of your customers now are a little bit more mature,
Right.
Right? I mean, what is the age demographic?
Yeah, so it differs, right? So because we have so many different products, from gardening to snow blowing. Of course, the majority of them are going to be in the older demographic, because these are homeowners that are doing DIY projects, gardening, patio. They're doing a lot of stuff for their homes, and so the demographic age group is probably somewhere in the 35 to 60 range, and probably a little even up in the 60s. You'll see some customers. So with that in mind, you're right. There is a maturity level of demographic, and then we have a new roll-in of, in 5 years, people like myself will now fall into that demographic category, right? I'm going to buy a house. I don't have a house yet, but I will in the next 5 years.
But this
And so
promotion,
now I'm
I'm
in that
going to buy a
category.
house now.
Yeah, well, I should be able to.
Let's go.
Yeah. So with that in mind, I'll roll into that. My generation will roll into that demographic. Our demographic will change, and if I'm in that demographic, I know my answer. I can't speak for everyone in my generation, but I know I'm going to want the robot. I don't want to wait for someone. Just get me to the buy. If they could solve it, let's do it now.
Give me the answer. I
Yeah.
have an issue. I have a question. I just want the answer.
Yeah. So there's a lot to that. I mean, there's so much to go off of. Just brainstorming that whole thing. There's a whole side of it that I want to talk about. I could talk about the whole application side. People want apps more than anything. They're like, oh, just get an app on your phone. Why? They don't have an app for this? Like, I hear that all the time. It's like, how do you not have an app?
So how do you see? So the calls are going to. These are great predictions. I'm glad we're recording this.
Yeah.
So we can play this 5 years from now, and we can revisit this. But so you're saying 60-70% of your calls could be deflected through the bot. Makes sense.
Yep.
As you're explaining that. What will happen to those people who are taking those calls? Like, what type of roles will they be doing now?
I see it in the beginning stages. These people will probably be in hybrid roles. They're going to be managed, because there's still a level of follow-up on tickets. Like, let's say the bot handled the ticket, maybe the bot handled the ticket, but there is a certain level of making sure something gets done. So it's going to be a hybrid. In the beginning, we can't trust 100% that, hey, the bot solved it, shipped the replacement, made sure we got the return label out, RMA, everything, right? So there's going to be I think there's going to be some level of hybrid in the role. But for the most
piloting with the bot and the human co-pilot.
Correct, right. So that's where it changes, right? Because now in today's world, a customer service representative doesn't need much experience with anything in tech or AI. And so that's changing now. Now we want to know, what do you know about AI? Do you know chat? That's one of the questions we ask in interviews. Do you know about ChatGPT? And we'll see what, if the spin off. And it's so the skill set of having even just general knowledge and interest in it is a really big seller for someone interviewing. We're like, yeah, this is, you're going to fit in well now. We're thinking about the future. We want people like you who are for it, not the agents that are scared, like, oh, I'm going to lose my job. No, let's be for it, because now if you get the skill set, you're going to be in high demand in a few years, and you're probably in high demand now.
Yep, and it's a great career opportunity for them to come in to a progressive company like Snow Joe, who's thinking about the future. Is going to help them progress their careers much faster and be more attractive in the marketplace. Whether it's at Snow Joe or outside of Snow Joe. So it's a great opportunity for anyone to come work at Snow Joe and get that experience. That's pretty cool.
It's a tech skill. That's ultimately what I tell people too. It's like, hey, customer service up until, I got lucky and started on the IT side and went kind of on the customer service route. But for people that are strictly just customer service focused, they don't have that many hard skills that they can sell themselves on 10 years down the road, maybe even 5 years. When they go, they're like, I don't want to do CS anymore. I want to do something bigger. And they're like, well, what tech do you know? I solve tickets, so, and there's nothing wrong with that. But to this point, if you have, now we put that person against the person who knows ChatGPT, who loves AI, who talks about it, who knows how to automate, knows how to really be efficient. That person not only is going to have that skill and be preferred for the job, but now we have a reason to pay that person more because you have a hard skill that
100%.
is in high demand.
100%, right? You've got, efficiencies, you're bringing in,
Yep.
technology that's being adopted for, more automation. It's making a high impact, is it, providing ROI to the business. So those folks who are into those kinds of, expertise are going to be, happy.
Yeah. I agree.
That's great. So this has been super helpful hearing about your prediction. It makes sense. Excited to see where this all goes. Let's shift to, a little bit about your day-to-day job, right? I want to kind of hear about, you've been at Snowjo for a year. Over the last year, I'd love to hear because you've got this unique experience of, the profile that you have of, being an internal help desk person. You've been a contact center person. You've then moved quickly into leadership role and managing folks and inspiring them. You've got this sports background. In your job at Snowjo over the last year, have you had to deal with a challenging situation? It could also be a success situation where you had, a big win. Would love, to hear about that experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sharing.
Yeah. I mean, my role coming in, and I knew this, I was happy to take it this way, was that, hey, we haven't had a tech savvy person running our CS org. That was the leading sentence. And I heard in the interview, and I'm like, great. Most people run away, right? I'm like, no, I want to solve. That's why I worked at a startup before this. And I said, I want to solve problems, right? I want to solve big problems. And so when I heard that, I was like, yes. And so the first 6 to 8 months was really cleanup, right? Data cleanup. We had triggers and automations and macros and all these things going and funneling through the Omnichannel and Zendesk that no one knew where they were going. No one was managing the views. And so it took, in the first 3 months was getting our scripting in, right? So I didn't mention this in this interview, but I did with Grant some months back. We had come in, our team was using, and this, I'll keep going, but I want to add this point. Our team was using sticky notes. Our call center team offshore was using sticky notes, and no kidding, and Word documents for troubleshooting steps, for introductions on phone calls. And so sometimes they would stumble, they pick up the phone and they're trying to find the sticky note. Thank you for calling. And they're trying to it was just, for me, it was a little mind blowing, and I was excited to fix it. And one of the first things I heard of was Zintree. And so I looked it up in the marketplace in Zendesk. I easily found it. I started with the trial. We loved it. I mean, I got it up and running. I don't know if you heard this, but I spoke with our sales rep, and we got it up in 24 hours, and it was no code experience needed. I didn't really have to do any training. I didn't read any documentation, and it's so much better now. I mean, this, but when I got this a year ago, this was before the kind of the refunneling of the tree that you guys have now, which is so much easier. And it still was that easy, right? And so anyways, it speaks to the level of kind of like how quick it was to get it up and running. Immediately, we saw a 50% increase in our inbound sales conversion rates because now they had live scripting available to them. They knew objection responses. They knew what upsells. Yeah. And so immediate value for us. We were super stoked about it. It was kind of a cheat code for me. And I said this if you look back at my interview when I spoke with you guys, probably almost a year ago, one of the things I said was, this is going to help me in my promotion, because this was in the first 3 months. And they were like, whoa, this is saving us. We're closing tickets faster. We're closing inbound sales faster. Agents sound more professional. I mean, it was like too good to be true at that time, right? And we're like, how? And it was so easy to get up. I didn't even need to bring a dev resource in. So that was like the part at that time, we didn't have really that much to offer. So that was one of the first things that I came in. But projects like those are the ones that I was primarily focused on, just drilling in on can we operate in a more efficient way? Do we need 170 people right now? Like thinking about those kind of questions, because when I came here, we did have 170 agents and our volume was relatively the same to what we have today, which is around like 2,500 to 3,000 tickets a day. And we have probably half of that team that we did at the time. And so we're running efficiently. We're very lean. Both in-house here and offshore teams are lean. And so
you made a huge impact in your first year, and you were, how did you end up getting this promotion? I'm curious.
I proposed it. I
provided results, and
well, here I won't tell you the exact thing. I won't give my cheat code out to the world. No, it wasn't that complicated. So I present.
You just have to show results, and you get promoted.
It's simple as that. But what I did was I actually I spent a few weeks putting together a 1-year review plan, and my 1-year review was coming up. I had about 30 slides on there, going over accomplishments for 15 slides for everything we've done and highlighting some of the big stuff we've changed, the savings operationally we've done, how the teams feel, everything you could think of in terms of accomplishments. And then the second half was a growth plan for myself. And I presented it, laid it out with my 2-year plan, what projects I need to focus on, what's going to be important, why these are important, what's going to save here, what's going to save here. And so it was very detailed. I even wrote my own job description, and I made it easy. It was just like, wow. So all this is kind of done right for my COO. He was like, great, this is awesome. And so he was happy to promote me. And I was happy with the results, of course.
That's amazing. You're a go-getter. You're hungry. I like it.
Yeah, I am.
That's great. That's awesome. So so you had some success. Any challenging days in the last year where you, I took a beating today, but I'll be back again tomorrow? Did you run into any of those situations?
We have, I mean, there's always challenges. That's the thing about service, right? It's always, there's never, I mean, once in a while you'll get a good call, but if any calls get to my desk, it's like, it's always, so yes and no, right? We've put out a lot of fires. We've had some scares, some data scares at one point. And so we don't have to get too super into that, but we've had data scares where, things were down for a long period of time. Customers couldn't put orders in. And our agents had to, we had to on the fly think of a response to tell these customers, a way to funnel them so that we could follow up. And so we've had, issues like that, which is relatively normal to some call centers. This only happened once, and now it'll never happen again.
What did you do? Where were you at that time when this happened?
I was on lunch break.
I
was on lunch break, thankfully. I was on lunch break, so I was local. And I stepped out of the office to grab lunch, and I got the text on Slack, and I was like, okay. So I ran back here. We all huddled up, and we figured out a plan. We had a plan up within like 2 hours or so. So it wasn't too detrimental to our customers, but the experience is what the most important part was for us. We didn't want calls sitting in the queues. We didn't want to have no answers for them. And so immediately the first thing we need to do is come up with a plan for the agents. What are they going to say to the customers? How are we going to handle this, right? While still sounding calm and like, hey, we have a solution for you. And so, of course, that's just one off the top of my head, but we always deal with challenges. Again, I love challenges. That's what makes my job fun.
That's amazing. I know we're getting close to wrap things up here. I really appreciate your time. So let me ask you this, you obviously played competitive sports. What do you do now? I know you have a 5-year-old daughter. You want to get her exposed to sports. That's great. What are your hobbies now outside of work? I mean, do you do any competitive sports now?
I do. Well, not super competitive, right? I have bad hamstrings. I just mentioned that. I just learned that they're bad this year, actually. So I play softball in a men's league. We have, I play in a few leagues actually, and we do tournaments. We do every Sunday. And this is the
You're representing Snow Joe, or is it just like
no? So we actually we ended up doing a soccer team, I think, but we didn't. I didn't do the soccer. But no, so softball team. This is like with a small group of college friends and ex-athletes, and just so we're a pretty studded out team. It's fun. We have a lot of fun. You guys are
dominating the league.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a social league, so we're not like, I mean, it's not saying much. We're not in the championships or anything like that, but yeah, I do softball. I go to the gym 6 days a week, so gym is a big part of my life. I go every morning, 4:30 a.m. So I'm like super
4:30. I like it.
Yeah,
you put in an hour. What are you doing? Like,
no, I do an hour of lifting and then 30 minutes of cardio every morning.
Nice.
Yeah, and so it's been working. I've been doing this for. I mean, I've always worked out after college. It became part of my life. I've been lifting and working out. It's just I couldn't stop, right?
It's part of your nature. It's to have.
Yeah, but I do have to admit,
it's like brushing your teeth. You got to brush your teeth, and
exactly. It's like exactly like that. And so I do have to admit, I did put on some daddy weight. when I had my daughter, I gained, no kidding, I gained 75 pounds.
Wow.
I kept the same eating habits that I had from football. I used to eat, I'm not like nasty meals, but I guess the size of my meals were just, you would look at it and be like, there's no way you're finishing that. And I'd be like, yeah, I'll finish. Are you going to finish yours? And
Yeah.
so I ate like that my whole life. And so when I had a kid and I wasn't going out much, we spent a lot, especially when she was an
But you're
infant.
probably about spending training when you're in
Yep.
college, but now you're eating the same amount, but you're maybe spending an hour training versus
Yeah.
5, 6,
No,
7.
and at that time it was nothing. I wasn't doing anything. Sorry. I wasn't doing anything at that time. I was literally just being a dad. And so I was working, at that time it was obviously a big growth period of my life. And I was trying to become a leader and also being a dad, a first-time dad at 20, I was 21.
Yeah.
And so it was early in my life. And so anyways, I did put on a lot of weight. It took me a little while to get that off. I did, 1 meal a day dieting. And then I really got serious about the gym. And so now it's become, again, it's back into my daily life. If I don't do it, you're into it if you don't do it for a day, you feel bad. Where it's like before, it was like, if I have to go every day, it feels bad. But now if I don't do it, my body knows. And it's like, well, man, you're tired today. You're not yourself today, man. Like my body's speaking to me. So yeah, it's a big part of my life. My daughter's a big part of my life. She's doing great. She's going to kindergarten this year. And she's in summer camp now.
Some time off this summer.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. When her summer camp finishes in August, we're going to do something. Not sure what yet, but we'll do something.
Right.
She wants
maybe
to
get her, I don't know if pickleball has taken off in New Jersey, but it's huge here in the area.
Not yet. Is that the one it has like a paddle, or it's like a paddle?
It's got a paddle, it's got a wiffle ball. There's a lot of football players that play it. In fact, right here, I live right next to Stanford. There's a bunch of Stanford football guys that come and play pickleball.
Nice.
And they're big guys, but they can move really fast. It's fun. So, you should check it out.
I will definitely check it out. I've been hearing LeBron James' name associated with pickleball. Is that correct?
He bought a pickleball team, and I don't know if he's played, but I've seen Kevin Durant play pickleball.
Kevin Durant plays pickleball. That's got to be a fun sight to see. His arms are like
some videos of it online.
That's funny. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. I mean, she's not really into that many sports. She's a dancer. I think now we'll see how she grows. She loves dancing. She loves singing. But she doesn't like anything throwing a ball or anything like that yet. So I'm letting her just kind of let nature take its course. If she wants to be a dancer instead of a softball player, Daddy's still gonna love her. So I'm okay with that.
100%. That's the way to do it. Justin, inspirational speaking to you.
Likewise.
You've accomplished a lot very quickly. You became a father at 21, became a VP of customer experience and operations at 27. Congratulations. You've got it. You've done amazing things. You've got a bright future ahead. You've got a long future ahead. So excited to connect with you. Thanks for giving us time today. I appreciate you being on the podcast, and look forward to catching up with you soon.
Yeah, we'll talk soon. Thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you, Justin.
Yeah.